podcast. Is that what you're saying? We'll do the show from Mexico City if we get 6,000 patrons.
There you go. Okay. Hey, let's do it.
I want to go
Now, when we do the show from Mexico City, do we all move there, or is it just one show?
I think to start, we just do a show.
Okay.
Then we'll see how it goes.
Okay. All right. That's cool. Yeah, you don't want to overcommit.
We do want to get paid in dollars and spend in pesos.
I want to go to an actual live luchador match. There's a huge stadium or not event center, what would arena in the heart of Mexico City that my dad's old cook used to go to when he was a kid. It's like that's where all the matches happen, all the big matches with the luchadors and stuff. I totally want to go because
so fun.
That would seem like the awesomest thing ever.
I'm sure Justin knows something about that.
But I went to a Lucha Libre show at the Fillmore in San Francisco, which is obviously very small compared to a large arena, but it was really fun.
Wait, who's this?
Luchadores.
Like a luchador.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
in Mexico City.
Mexico City's famous for that. Obviously, the two big promotions are AAA, which tours a little bit more, and then CMLL, which runs it's the oldest North American wrestling federation that runs every Friday out of Arena, Mexico. But that's Mexican. The top of Mexican wrestling is alternatively insanely athletic and really fat and lazy. It's
it's both spectrums or
oh yeah.
How does it conquer both?
Well, I mean, just the stars there are stars forever, and they can grow as fat as they want, and everyone will always love them as long as they wear the mask and do the moves. And then the young guys are insane because the level of athleticism there is just off the charts.
I see. Yeah.
But then beyond that, there's also are there different societal norms in Mexico than there are here in the United States. It's a different things that you might find less than tasteful, fully in gear.
I imagine it works the other way too. Things that we would
inverse
find
is true.
Probably incredibly insulting.
Yeah.
Although you don't see it because they don't do it.
Sure. Yeah.
I wish I knew more about what you're referencing. I'll use my imagination.
Yeah. They have a thing in Mexico called the exoticos. And they are men who act in a very effeminate manner.
Okay. I'm very familiar with what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
Exoticos. Okay.
And that's one of those things where it's it's not drag. It's not an element of we're doing a thing. It's from an American perspective, a lot of it is ha ha ha, laugh at the gay guy. Look at what the gay guy did.
Sure.
The guy grabbed the other guy's butt and now he's gonna get punched for it.
I
know exactly what you're talking about.
So it's look, it's its own thing. I'm just just one of those things that you notice when you watch enough Mexican wrestling.
Well, but okay, are the exoticos beloved? Do people
some are.
Sure. Yeah, you're rooting for them.
Some are villains. Some are heroes. It's just it's one of those things that I think that there can be art within it. But we, especially now, I think we are more in an era of understanding what the lines are than we are understanding and appreciating whether or not the art exhibits in between them. And that's just a cultural difference.
Sure. All right.
Speaking of culture.
Speaking of culture, we're going to do DTNS.
It's amazing. That I'm realizing now. I should have just said Mexican wrestling. It's great, but instead I wanted to get into this cultural discussion. So I apologize.
Okay.
I learned something.
Yeah. All's Well, a Night Attack album available.
Here we go. You guys ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
In 3, 2. Patrick Petrini has supported independent tech news directly for 5 years. Be like Patrick. Become a DTNS member at patreon.com/DTNS. This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, January 22nd, 2019 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Oakland, California, I'm Justin Robert Young.
And from the fringes of LA County, I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
And of course, Justin Robert Young on a Tuesday instead of a Thursday because he has a top 5 comedy album out today with our other guest on today's show, Mr. Brian Brushwood, host of
All right,
on the Road.
some facts over here. First of all, it's a #1 comedy album. It was a top 5 all albums on iTunes for temporarily #3. But the point is, yes, we finally both made it. It was a big thing when we had this album coming out. It was like, hey, Justin, you know what's a thing we've never done before is shown up like as a duo, like either one or the other of us goes on things. Finally, we're doing it together.
Yeah, and I'm super proud of the album. I think it's great. All's Well, a Night Attack album available now. We'll talk a little bit more about it. But
Yeah, we're going to talk to these guys a little bit about the things they had to go through to get an independent album out on the internet. They've been doing this more than once. This isn't their first time through. So we'll learn from them in a bit. Let's start with a few tech things you should know.
Sources tell the Wall Street Journal that Apple may drop LCDs altogether from the iPhone line next year in favor of OLED screens and will also reportedly be launching a 5G iPhone in 2020. However, the company is still expected to release an LCD screen successor to the XR later this year.
The Wall Street Journal sources say Foxconn is considering moving the iPhone's manufacturing to India. Foxconn chairman Terry Gu supposedly plans to visit India to research the idea. Apple already produces its iPhone SE in India in order to help it navigate laws requiring retail stores to stock a percentage of goods manufactured inside the country. Foxconn supposedly wants to make sure it can find enough skilled workers and the appropriate infrastructure.
And then it might be good to just move it to India anyway. That's the growth market. China's sort of topping out. Microsoft introduced a range of Windows 10 devices for the education market, including 2-in-1s and laptops from Acer, Dell, and Lenovo, all around $300. Lenovo actually announced its 100E now available for $189. So these are some cheap laptops. Microsoft also introduced the Microsoft Classroom Pen with a hardened tip and replacement tip and a slot for tethering to devices for classrooms that are kind of hard on this stuff. It'll ship with the Surface Go in all markets in February and also sell in packs of 20 to schools for about $40 per pen. Microsoft also announced it's giving Code Jumper, its project to teach programming to visually impaired students, to the American Printing House for the Blind to implement.
The Michigan Economic Development Corporation approved an $8 million grant for Waymo and Magna to build a manufacturing facility for autonomous cars. The goal is to move into a facility somewhere in southeast Michigan by mid-year and prepare to make level 4 vehicles. Waymo has supplier partnerships with both Fiat Chrysler and Jaguar Land Rover. And
right before the show, the U.S. Department of Justice affirmed it will seek extradition of Huawei's chief financial officer, Meng Wanzhou. She is accused of misrepresenting links to a firm that tried to sell equipment to Iran in violation of U.S. sanctions. U.S. has until January 30th to file a formal request for extradition. And after that's done, Canada has 30 days to determine if there is enough evidence to justify the extradition. All right, let's talk a little bit more about Netflix. Yeah, we know Roma got 10 nominations for Oscars, but that's not what we're going to talk about, is it, Justin?
No. Politico reports Netflix is in advanced talks to join the Motion Picture Association of America. The MPAA is currently made up of Disney, Paramount, Sony Universal, Warner Brothers, and Fox, although Fox will leave when Disney finishes its deal to acquire it. According to Politico, bringing companies like Netflix into the fold has been a goal of the MPAA CEO, Charles Rivkin, who took over the association in September of 2017.
So I know it's a goal of the MPAA, but what does it do for Netflix?
Oh, it gets them into the power structure. I mean, Netflix has been on the outside looking in because of all of these movie studios' relationships with movie theaters. That is the thing that stops every element of Netflix getting rewarded for motion picture awards and stuff like that. So the more that they are a part of the workaday element of this process, the more that they are better off in terms of rewarding talent and producers with what they want.
I suppose so. At the same time, I wonder how much Netflix itself, which obviously makes a lot of money and has only grown year over year, cares about the old guard. I understand the directors and producers, sure, because we're still working within a system, but yeah, I don't know. I could be wrong.
The
So-
MPAA as existing studios want to keep Netflix from tearing up the ground with the theaters. They want to put pressure on the theaters too, though. So yes, you're right. It's definitely to the advantage of these studios. Netflix is withdrawing itself from the Internet Association and entering this because they want to be seen as an entertainment company. They want to be seen as a studio, and they want to come to the theaters not as a startup, an outsider. They want to come to the theaters saying, hey, we've got 5 other friends with us. You need to agree to a smaller window for our movies in theaters. Remember, Roma was one of the first movies where Netflix said, fine, we'll give you a small window of exclusivity in theaters. We're just not going to agree to 90 days. So they've showed that they're willing to compromise now. And I think they want that extra leverage of, we got some friends with us too.
This is also a good time to remember that the MPAA exists because it was a preemptive strike on government intervention about who could see what kind of movie and what kind of situation. The idea was, let's self-police before the government has the opportunity to come in and tell us what kind of movies, what kind of stories we can and can't tell. So in that regard, if they were to exclude Netflix, Netflix's only move would be to maybe spend a few money on some lobbying dollars and make a lot of trouble for the MPAA.
Yeah. By the way, unsolicited plug, this film is not yet rated as a great first half of a documentary before they start dumpster diving and doxing people.
Correct.
Moving on, the French data protection watchdog CNIL issued its first GDPR fine, citing Google 50 million euros. The fine comes from the onboarding process when setting up a new Android phone. The regulatory body found the process lacks transparency as Google uses intentionally, quote, broad and obscure, end quote, language, and requires clicking through 5 to 6 links to find out how information is used to personalize ads. CNIL also found that Google broke GDPR data consent rules by not providing specific and unambiguous consent options and pre-ticking an agreement to its privacy policy. The fine stems from a May 2018 complaint from the nonprofit NOYD or NOID.
You can't avoid the Noid.
I think it's Noib, actually.
Oh.
Well, I guess
you can't avoid the Noib either.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Well, apparently you can. You just call it NOID.
Well, because it stands for none of your business. That's
NOIB. Got it.
because
Got it.
they're trying to be they're trying to be privacy oriented here. This is a precedent, though. This is definitely the first test of, okay, there's that vague language in the GDPR that says you've got to make this understandable to people. And a lot of folks have looked at this as hope for the future that terms of service could be made understandable to people instead of burying things in miles and miles of legal text. And the French data protection watchdog coming up on the side of the consumers saying, yeah, we know technically you followed the rules here, but it's not easy enough for people to see what their choices are. You can't bury it down in the menus. You can't pre-tick options. You got to make it a real choice.
Well, and
50 million
obviously
euros, not that
when
much of a
it's
fine, though. That's just a slap on the wrist.
when it's Google, of course, you say, well, Google doesn't care about 50 million euros. And no, that's true. Google can afford it, but it does help behavior change for smaller companies, for Google, that, the entire industry, if you're going to get your hand slapped repeatedly by, again, having these practices that are misleading consumers, as CNIL found, it does change the behavior over time.
Google may not care about 50 million, but they sure care about precedent for the GDPR. And
They sure do.
a lot of these companies do as well, and they should.
South China Morning Post has an article about China's free trade zone on Hainan Island, south of Hong Kong. It's kind of right off the coast east of Vietnam. Tech startups there can get free rent, reduced taxes, easier visa policies for their workers. That island already has a tourist visa where you basically don't need a visa. You can visit that island for 30 days without a visa, even if you're coming from the US, UK, etc., as well as access to government-backed funding. Microsoft and Singapore's Temasek backs Alibaba and Tencent, so they have some interest in China, have both agreed to develop the island, and talks are underway with IBM and SAP to establish Asian regional headquarters there. Huobi Group, one of the world's biggest cryptocurrency exchanges, moved its operations center to the island's blockchain pilot zone earlier last year. The free trade zone was ordered in April 2018 and will be fully operational by 2020. Alibaba's Jack Ma compared Hainan to Hong Kong as a modern version of Hong Kong, a digital free trade port, though companies still have to register with the government. They still have to file documents with multiple government agencies. It's not as free as the free trade port might be. But I found this just an interesting concept that, China has about a dozen of these free trade zones. I think Shanghai probably being one of the most famous. But making one on an island near Hong Kong as sort of an alternate Hong Kong, where they say, hey, a bunch of rules aren't going to apply, we're going to make it easier to start up, is something to keep an eye on.
Sure. I mean, kind of seems like China trying to have their cake and eat it too. But look, if the way that you can spur economic development in your country is by openly allowing people to ignore your laws, God bless you.
Well, one country, two systems with them in Hong Kong. Now it could be one country, 2.5 systems with Hainan. But like I said, they have other free trade zones like this where they say, hey, we'll make it easy for foreign companies to come in and operate here, as long as they just operate here and not throughout.
I think what Justin's saying between the lines is, and I think we all agree with this, is that season 3 of The Wire was the best. When Amsterdam was a fantastic idea, just a little bit outside of what's acceptable.
Yeah, and whoever's in charge of it better be careful if it's too successful.
Sure. WhatsApp's Vice President for Policy and Communications, Victoria Grand, announced that going forward, all users would be limited to forwarding messages to a maximum of 5 recipients. The move is an attempt to limit the spread of misinformation and rumors and is a global expansion of what the company rolled out in India in July. Previously, forwards could be sent to up to 20 recipients. This is, of course, coming from the fact that there were issues where, rumors about somebody being, having committed a heinous crime would spread virally on platforms like WhatsApp that would could often result in deaths in some cases.
Yeah, no, there were lynchings in India, and it was largely attributed to communications on WhatsApp, and WhatsApp stepped up there with full page ads in the papers and implementing these controls to try to reduce the effect. To me, and we've been covering this on DTNS, so if you've been listening to DTNS, you're familiar with what was going on in India already. To me, WhatsApp is doing a much better job than their parent company at dealing with these sort of issues, maybe because they have less light shine directly upon them in most parts of the world, but figuring out how to dissuade behaviors with universal rules rather than sort of pasting on a bunch of reviews and weird things like Facebook does.
I don't know. This seems to me like it's a solution to a problem that is not actually a solution. So the problem is that people are spreading misinformation and fake news. So if you can share some bogus article with 20 people and now you can only share it with 5, okay, it's going to make things spread less rapidly, but it doesn't change the inherent problem itself.
But they did it this is why I like it. They did it in India and saw that it had an effect. So
yeah,
right.
It does work. They want to step on that electric moment when you need to do something now and you need to spread it now and we need to go and kill this guy right now, and that mob is going to get so big that law enforcement can't do anything with it. And if this is a slight crippling of a feature that can put just that little bit of a break on those moments, then I can understand why they're going to do it. Because look, the trend both in America and worldwide is putting more onus and responsibility on the platforms that are facilitating this. So I don't blame them for doing it.
And the bad actors, there were bad actors who just wanted clicks and would spread these messages massively like spam. And now they can't do that because they can only spread to 5 at a time.
For example, if you were going to spread to 5 people at a time that All's Well, a Night Attack album was available on iTunes.
That would be okay, but you'd still only be able to send it to 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Reverse the rule.
Not 20. Too much virality. Okay, this is a great story, guys. Back in Italy, a project involving Cremona, this is a city in Italy's Museo de Violino, Violin Museum, is attempting to record notes from each Stradivarius, that's a type of violin, in its collection to preserve it for future generations. After a certain age, these violins have an irreproducible tone, become too fragile to be played. So they have a shelf life. So 4 musicians will play sounds from 2 violins, a viola, and a cello for 8 hours a day, 6 days a week for 1 month. They'll be recorded by 32 ultra-sensitive microphones and stored in the Stradivarius Sound Bank. Cremona's mayor, who is also president of the Stradivarius Foundation, so obviously a violin enthusiast, has ordered the streets around the museum to be closed and also asked the people of Cremona not to make noise during the day. Former DJ Leonardo Tedeschi had the idea for the project, and also thanks to KV87 for bringing this to our attention in our subreddit.
This is one of those times when the New York Times did a great job with their article. They start with a woman in a coffee shop in the area that's been asked to be quiet, accidentally breaking a glass, and they end the story with the fact that the folks recording this noticed that glass had been dropped in that coffee shop a couple blocks away.
Wow. Yeah, ultra-sensitive microphones indeed.
Yeah, and this is a great use of digital technology for historical preservation. I mean, these violins are 500 years old in some points, in some parts, cannot be reproduced. Nobody can figure out what makes a Stradivarius different, and so there is no way to reproduce them after they become too fragile, and eventually they'll all be too fragile. But if you record it the way they're recording it, they not only be able to share that tone with people, but also be able to let people play it electronically by reproducing those sounds.
Man.
Worth noting that there have been double-blind experiments in which people attempted to figure out whether or not there's truly something magical about a Stradivarius versus a currently made viola or cello or whatever, and nobody's been able to reproduce any kind of, like, once you go double-blind, forget it, it's time. That's what they say. That's the old saying right there.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is it was a DJ who had the idea for the project, because that's what DJs do. They take, when you sample sounds, they actually do this with high-end synthesizers. You can get a Steinway piano in a chord keyboard because you can buy and download the sample set and reproduce it, and you map it to the keyboard. Essentially, this is what they want to do with the Stradivarius. But it's interesting that it took like a DJ to kind of kickstart it, even though the technology's been around for like more than a decade.
Yeah.
So finally, we'll be able to get that 400-year-old Stradivarius loops on the new Migos.
Okay, look for it on SoundCloud too. Hey, folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. Now, they didn't use 32 ultra-sensitive microphones. They didn't have to shut down traffic in Austin, but these two fine gentlemen joining us today have created, this is your 5th comedy album? Is that right?
5th comedy album. This hopefully will be the 3rd that debuts at #1 on the Billboard comedy charts. And it is the first that includes, I think, either 50-50 or majority music.
Yeah, certainly the majority of everything that's good about this album was not created by Justin and I, right? Like, I think we can verify that. But this is this feels more alchemy than science, right? Because the rules are a constantly shifting landscape. Somewhere is an institution, multiple institutions. Some are emerging, like the iTunes store or the Amazon charts, or let's say in the literary world, the Wall Street Journal top 10 or the New York Times bestseller list or whatever. Like, everybody is trying to pledge and wave their hands and say, here lies legitimacy. But they don't want to say we're the kingmakers who are deciding this stuff. And so folks who are creatives, like Justin Robert Young and myself, are constantly left trying to figure out, like, okay, so what matters? A lot of people buying it? Let's try figuring out a way to get a lot of people to buy it. And then they say, okay, well, from now on, you can't get away for 2 cents. You have to charge a bigger amount. It's like, great, okay. Let's work this out. What are we looking for here?
Yeah. So even though this isn't a how-to, tell us some of the things that you have done that seem to have worked.
Well, here is the first thing that, now that we've seen that this has had, and just for the record, at least on day 1, this has had far more traction than I think anything that we have done on iTunes at the very least has. We'll see how that translates going forward. But for All's Well, we kind of went back to a strategy. This is the first album that we've come out in a little while that would technically be considered a single album. It is under 50 minutes, so therefore it would not be considered a double album, which means that we could charge the lowest that Billboard will allow, which is $1.99. That is the bargain basement price. What we think, at least hours into understanding that we had a lot more traction than we thought we did, is part of the secret sauce, is that now this is the first time that we've released something while streaming was the dominant way that people get music. And so $1.99 is a bit of a no-brainer price. If you want to support us, that you're like, all right, well, I'll buy it and then I'll just listen to it on Spotify or Apple.
So you get double support. You get double count from that because you had somebody who wanted to spend it to help you guys out, but then also is contributing streams that also count towards the ranking as well.
Yeah. If we say, hey, look, it takes, according to Billboard, it takes like anywhere between 7 and 20 streams to count as a full album download. You can cheat and get that for $1.99. So pay your $1.99 tax and then listen to it wherever you want.
Now, somebody in the chat room has already pointed out, because folks love to point things out, that it's not $1.99 everywhere, but that's part of the problem in the agility of these stores. Explain a little bit about that.
Well, some of the stores, you have to post it officially, then alter the price to whatever the price you want it to be. Like there's a default price that has to be altered after the fact. Of them, as best we understand, the big three are Google Play, Amazon, and iTunes. iTunes is the only of the three that will launch at exactly the price that you would say we would like to launch at this price. So meanwhile, we find ourselves in this weird lag between, hurry up, Amazon, we'd love for you to get the price right. Hurry up, Google Play, on and on we go. But an artifact of that is absent either of those other channels. There are people who say, okay, I hate iTunes, I hate Apple, I hate everything, but I'm excited for this moment, and if I have to do something, fine. I'm gonna give my $1.99 to this one platform, and as a result, not only we've had multiple albums launch at #1 on the comedy charts. I don't know, Justin, that we've ever gone this stratospheric in the general charts before.
No, we have never seen this kind of traction, and part of that is, the fact that Google and Amazon don't make their money on music by and large. They have great music stores, but they both run off the same back end that you then have to get in touch with somebody at Google and Amazon who then have to take the deliberate step for them to not make as much money as they would if it were listed at $9.
Why can't you just list it at the price you want to list it at? Is it they just don't give you that option?
No, they have to get it, and then they have to go and change it. And that's just it's because Amazon doesn't do a lot of music sales comparably to other stuff that they do. For Apple, music has, since the era of Steve Jobs, been very important. The iTunes store was very important in getting the Apple brand out to people who are Windows users and stuff like that. So they have built a very agile platform.
So here is strangely one of the benefits to the way everything has unfolded, because if, let's say, in an alternate universe, all three platforms had done exactly what we wanted and launched at $1.99, we might have a bit of a complication of, say, just telling everybody buy it. It's $1.99 everywhere. But by virtue of some people being good about launching at the intended price and others not, now we have a very simple story that has resulted in on exactly one platform is where everybody's diverting their efforts. And so now, the fact that we hit #3 out of all albums, full stop, on iTunes. And guess what? Here's the best part. Tomorrow, I'm not technically a wizard or a mentalist, but I'm going to guess that if Amazon were to finally get the price set right, then all of a sudden we would be handed a new narrative of finally, now you could buy it on the other place. Yeah. And we'll see a similar version of what we've already seen so far today.
And that's the biggest thing, is in a world where there's no monoculture and everything that you see is what you surround yourself with, then the idea of us charging into the void and upsetting the apple cart on the new Future album, we're charting higher than future album, right? On iTunes. And we will, I mean, unfortunately, the way that CD Baby categorizes things, we just had to list ourselves as spoken word. That was the first thing, is CD Baby says, okay, well, what kind of genre are you? And it's country, rap, rock and roll.
I mean, it's called CD Baby.
Yeah,
it's a huge surprise they would be limited.
So we had to be spoken word. And then a subsection of that is comedy. So when Amazon gets it, and again, Amazon just gets this one gigantic big back end feed that then they are using their own algorithms to sort out. We are not a comedy album on Amazon. We are a spoken word album.
Because they don't dig down a level?
Because just the way that the way that system works. And so we had the very, very, very weird sensation yesterday as we realized, we looked on where we were trending on the spoken word charts and found out that we had displaced Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech on Martin King Day.
It's a complicated feeling. Yeah.
Comedy category at that moment.
I really, really wish they would have been a little bit better about this. This is not, it's like, yay, no, boo to us. Boo to life. I'm ashamed. I apologize.
Well, you know who I'm not going to apologize for? Everyone who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on others. It's a lot of fun. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Get in there as soon as the show's over and see how, I don't know, meet a friend. If you also want to hang out on Facebook, you don't have to choose between the two. You can hang out in both places. Facebook.com/groups/Daily Tech News Show is where to go.
And then send us an email at feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com, and Sarah will read it, like this one.
Perhaps, yes. Norm from the Central Valley in California had some thoughts on our discussion, which I missed because I wasn't on the show on Friday, and I'm bummed because it was with Nicole Lee about food tech. And Nicole has a lot of thoughts about that. It's a theme that we all enjoy. Norm says, while bringing up the Instant Pot, adding voice support may be a benefit to some people, I think the broader trend of technological melding with cooking is very interesting. I have a non-connected Instant Pot, and it took until this segment to realize I don't own a cookbook for it. I just use the internet to find recipes. I think Nicole brought up the June oven, but surprised there wasn't any mention of the biggest trend that I've noticed, the sous vide cookers. While the Instant Pots are trying to serve many masters, sous vide seems to be trying to give the amateur a professional tool. On a side note, I got one for Christmas, and I'm underwhelmed so far. I don't think that the sous vide really works with connectivity, as the circulator needs to consistently keep the temperature constant. And in a broader technological trend, I think there was something last year about blockchain helping track food to aid in tracking as well. Sounds like there's enough stuff happening with food to start up a DTNS Labs.
If only we still did DTNS Labs. Get us to that next milestone. Maybe we'll start it back up. But sous vide actually been around for years. I mean, it's been around for a lot of years, but as a tech trend, I remember hearing about it at a dinner at CES, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. So yeah, definitely something that uses the app. Doesn't sound like Norm actually likes the connectivity of his. But
I reject Norm. I reject Norm. I had a sous vide cooked rare half a steak before I came on here today, and let me tell you what, having a Bluetooth connected sous vide machine that lets me know when I gotta go take that thing right out at the exact second that it needs to be taken out, and when it's heated up was a delight.
Did you feel it was perfectly cooked?
Yeah, I mean, certainly better than I would cook by myself.
Sure. Yeah, steak for lunch. You're living a good life.
Loving it.
Thanks to Justin Robert Young and Brian Brushwood for being with us. What a treat. I can't remember the last time both of you were on DTNS together. Congratulations on climbing the charts of Billboard. Let folks know where they can keep up with all of your work.
You can please head on over to nightattack.tv/album. That's probably the easiest way, where you can go ahead and just click on that iTunes link and go there. If you're listening to this right now on Tuesday or Wednesday, then please go to iTunes. If that is to your taste, we would greatly appreciate you kind of keeping the heat on this album. We are really far up the charts, and time is of the essence. As soon as the Amazon and Google Play stores change their prices, we will be the first to let you know at Night Attack Show on Twitter.
Go get it, folks. And support us on Patreon. If you're not supporting us on Patreon, you're missing out. There's columns from Roger. There's audio commentaries from me that we give as perks to the patrons. And in fact, people who stay with our top tiers for 3 months right now get merchandise with Len Peralta's 5-year anniversary art on it, celebrating 5 years of Daily Tech News Show. Advisor level folks get a poster. Master level folks get a mug. You can find out all the details at patreon.com/DTNS/merch.
Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. We love your feedback. Please keep it coming. We're also live Monday through Friday. If you can join us, please do. 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 21:30 UTC. Find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live.
Back tomorrow with Scott Johnson. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
There's Brian Brushwood's laugh ending every Daily Tech News Show.
Indeed.
I call it the Muppet laugh.
I'm okay with this.
All right. Do you guys mind if we bail?
No, you guys are headed over to the Ice Cream Social, right?
Yeah. No, we're doing the whole tour. It's crazy. We've never been these guys, and now here we are. Look at us. We're these guys.
It's Brian and Justin on the 8th.
That's it. We're doing our best. So everybody go check out Matt and Mattingly's Ice Cream Social, one of our favorite podcasts and great friends.
Excellent. Good luck, you guys. I'll see you at number 1.
Yeah, boy.
Love
See you guys. So I was looking up the population of Hainan Island because in my mind I was like, well, just a little island. No, over 9 million people live there.
Whoa, yeah, that's a lot more than I thought.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's not a huge island when you look at it on a map next to the rest of China, but yeah, it's a large populous area.
Should we name the show All's Well with DTNS?
I mean, is it going to scare people? Like, what was wrong?
Why do you have to say that?
Yeah. Was someone sick?
All the other suggestions are Noib puns, which don't get me wrong, I love, but
Yeah.
I feel that might be
Sarah just got to be in a D wrong, guys. Let's not let's not put that under display.
Yeah.
Have you ever? Well,
All's Well with the album charts.
I like that.
Yeah.
No, that one's okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Let's do that. Then we're doing that.
Okay. Hey, Tom, I know you're a jogger, and I know you've got your AirPods, but do you have what?
You're a jogger.
Tom, you're a jogger. Well, Roger, this applies to both of you. I just know I'm thinking about jogging in my head when I ask the question. Do you have a set of Bluetooth earbuds that aren't the AirPods that you like?
No, I've
No.
never used any
Okay.
Bluetooth audio product that I like.
All right. Well, I'm
have
going to get a pair, and I just
two
I don't
previous
know.
sets of Bluetooth headphones,
Yeah.
and I quickly ditched them when I got the AirPods because the AirPods do not fall out of my ears, and therefore I think they're great.
Okay.
I know that since the AirPods came on the scene, there's been a bunch of other earbud wireless out there that don't dangle like cigarette butts out of your ear, and some people claim fit their ears better.
Hmm.
So I don't know if anybody in the chat room or Discord wants to let us know, or just email us.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there are just so many. I'm looking on Amazon right now, and it's like there are a lot of extremely inexpensive options. They just
What
don't
about
look
the
the
wire
same to me. Yeah, the wire cutter would be the place.
Because I would recommend, barring knowing anything, if just a blank question came in, I would say for me, the AirPods work great. And I use them with all
Sure.
kinds of devices, right?
Yeah.
But I know they don't work for you. So that leaves me like, well, I wouldn't recommend the other ones I've used, and I haven't used any others besides those. I had
All right.
2 pairs before this that were, wired into each other,
Mm-hmm.
a little strap that goes.
Yeah. Well,
Just- they were uncomfortable and they didn't
Were
connect
they?
really well.
Mhm.
The connection was always a little bit janky. So
I see.
I love the modern trend that Apple sort of popularized of you put them in, they connect. Boom.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, that's great.
Well,
JPEG recommends Anker earbuds, Anker.
okay, cool.
Might take a look
Thanks.
at those.
Oh my goodness, the Wirecutter has changed their site. I haven't been here in a while.
It's all about sponges now. No.
Well, no, it's all the same stuff. They got a design overhaul.
It's only toiletries.
You want toilet paper?
Oh, yeah, no,
We've tried out 7,000 brands.
I noticed this a couple weeks back. Yeah, this is new. I forgot.
I mean, it looks very nice. It just, I remember it being yellow. It had a whole yellow thing once
Well,
upon a
they're
time.
like-
Credit cards. Tell me more.
Is that what you hang your toilet paper on? Toiletries.
The toiletry.
You know, I always wondered. we have a knack for finding words and then being like, what's that all about? I always wondered why they were called toiletries, because no toiletry is actually for the toilet. There's, I mean, unless you count toilet paper as a toiletry, which I don't. Toiletries are like, you know, a toothbrush and face soap and
There
maybe
are things.
some tweezers.
I think it's one of those etymological things where the toilet did not refer to the device that you sit on.
Right. It was the
It was the
room.
room.
Right.
And the toilet was the regimen of getting ready.
Right.
And so because you didn't want to refer to that thing because it was rude, they just said, well, she's in the toilet, meaning she was preparing, but everybody knew, oh, I get it. She's going to the bathroom, right?
Right.
So I think that's how we slowly started to refer to the porcelain thing as the toilet, and no longer referred to the preparatory and the room as the toilet. This is all guesswork, by the way. I could be totally wrong.
Toilet originally referred to the personal grooming and came by metonymy to be used for the personal rooms used for bathing, dressing, and so on. It was then euphemistically used for the similarly private rooms used for urination and defecation.
Oh yeah, see, so you're pretty close to what I was saying. Yeah.
Other terms include the lavatory, the wet closet.
I mean, toilet water
toiletry-
refers to perfume.
So toiletries and toilet water date back to that point before it became used for
The potty.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Defecation is not a funny word, but for some reason it's funny to me today. I don't know why I'm laughing.
I liked that
It's
you
very,
chose
very
potty,
immature.
I chose defecation.
right.
All these
For the potty.
The thing that you do. We all do it. Hey, come on.
Same. Just different.
You know what? They have pictures of all these very ornate bathrooms in the Wikipedia description. I just want antiseptic white. Just white. Something I can pour a bucket of bleach over and it clean everything at one swoop.
In a bathroom?
You can do that with colored toilets.
Oh, I'm sure you
I've
can.
had a
But,
pink toilet at an apartment
but I
before.
know if it's not
Cleans up
clean, if everything's white.
Well, the same, but it's clean if everything's pink too.
Rogers, he can
Green.
see the dirt more easily if everything is clean.
I don't need to go through the Dateline UV
I had a
light
green
to go-
toilet once and a green bathtub, and I had a pink toilet once and a pink bathtub. And I will argue I could see some like deposits better in the colored porcelain because some of it appears white and it didn't show up as much on the white porcelain.
I have a
That's like
very
water.
white bathroom currently. It's kind of that subway tile thing,
Mhm.
and it's lovely, but it shows everything, which is good. You know, to Roger's point, it keeps me honest.
yeah.
You know, I'm wiping it down probably more than I might have at my old apartment where I don't know, it was just like some like Formica nonsense. But
Your old apartment was mold colored, so you just can never see
I
anything.
was like, it's fine. You don't even clean it. It just blends in. But no, it's a blessing and a curse because everybody wants a nice clean bathroom. But sometimes I'm like, man, just wipe this down. I see like some dog hair on the corner type
I hadn't
thing.
thought about it, but our new shower, we don't have a bathtub in the main bathroom, but our shower has gray tile and it's roughly the color of water deposits. And I wonder if that's on purpose because we didn't pick it. That's the way it was when we moved in. If
Yeah.
they're like, oh, we won't have to clean it as often because you can't tell when the hard water deposits build up.
Do you have hard water?
Yeah, every place I've lived in pretty much has hard water.
Really?
I'm hoping that
I've definitely had
when I
some
first
soft
moved
water.
into my house here, it was hard water, but that's because Southern California was taking a significant amount of water from the Colorado River, which has a lot of mineral deposits in it.
Well, hard
But-
water just means it's not been treated.
Well, hard water tends to there's a certain amount of dissolved minerals in hard water
Yeah,
that qualifies
right.
as hard.
There's a certain amount of dissolved minerals in all water, though,
Yeah,
right?
but hard water is a certain level. It's not just having it. You have to pass a certain threshold, like on the hardness scale. There's like a
So you
hardness.
can have natural water pulled out of a stream, and it would still be soft water. If it
No,
was,
you would pull it. It would. So I guess I'm
That's what I'm-
stating. There's a hardness scale, right?
Yeah.
So you can have more deposits in it, and it would be considered a harder water, I guess.
I get, yeah, okay. What I'm
So-
saying is, if you don't have a water softener in your house, isn't the water always hard?
Yes.
Yes.
You have
Yeah.
to make it soft.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Although
on the
San
sauce.
Fran-
It's not
that's
just
fine.
going to be soft.
Although San Francisco, I mean, because the water comes from Hetch Hetchy, tends to be a little softer than
not as
not as
hard.
hard as
Okay, all right.
not
It
as
doesn't kick in the shins the way some water does.
You're too soft, water. You'll never make it.
No, I always remember it. Sometimes at a hotel or at someone's house, you wash your hair and you're like, soft water, because it like takes
Soft water is
forever to get the soap
amazing.
off of you. Yeah,
It's just
but then
that
you're kind of softer afterwards. as
you
a
don't
whole.
dry out like a
Yeah.
cod.
I just remember when my dad put in a water softener when I was a kid. I had no idea that water was either hard or soft, but immediately could taste the difference when we were
yeah.
getting a glass of water out of the faucet.
There was that Seinfeld episode about the low flow shower heads,
Mhm.
which is not exactly the same thing, but it was funny. Nobody liked them. It was basically the equivalent of they've put soft water in our showers.
Because it was limp. It was limp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's hair was kind of droopy.
We don't have enough
Well-
calcium in our hair.
The wire cutter says that the Jabra Elite Active 65T is the best set of wireless workout headphones. Sounding great for music and calls, fit comfortably, and because they have no wires, they stay secure and completely out of your way during rigorous workouts.
That's what you do. You're a jogger.
Withstanding abuse, sweat, and moisture. I don't know where the abuse came from. When used
That's when you yell at them,
properly.
like, why were you not a better headphone on this run?
I love that. It's like in my workouts, I want to sweat. There's going to be moisture, and there will be abuse.
Use of these headphones. I will throw them against the wall.
I need
will
the
step on
headphones that
them.
can withstand all three.
I will scream at these headphones.
Yeah. These headphones need to be okay when verbally abused. It is, let's see, and they're not cheap. 185 on Amazon.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, AirPods aren't cheap either. So
No, I was looking for more like $50,
Mhm,
not
mhm.
185. So maybe we'll go down the list a
Wirecutter
little bit.
also gives you a budget option usually. So
Yeah, you're very right. The Aukey AUKEY Latitude EP B40 for casual gym use, or if you're hard on earbuds. Apparently, a lot of people are just really mean to their earbuds. Are only $30 from Amazon.
well,
And
Tim DG says Anchor runs about $25.
oh well, you know what? Maybe Anchor's the
That's 2 votes for Anchor now. Not a scientific sample by any means, but
Anchor wireless.
well, Biocast says folks are mentioning LG here.
Oh, Anchor ANKER.
You are correct.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not familiar with them, but I will do some digging. Thanks,
I know about
guys.
their cases. A lot of people love their phone cases,
Mm.
batteries and stuff. Like they're pretty highly thought of as a company. Well,
Cool.
folks, thanks for watching. Go out and buy All's Well by Justin Robert Young and Brian Brushwood, the new Night Attack album, if you like to laugh. And audio folks, stick around. There's more to come.